And at that point in time, I was really like, man, I don't feel like I'm giving an experience to my clients that is like the experience they get when they shop anywhere else. Because in insurance, we're like, oh gosh, this is just the way we do it. And you need to bow down to the way that we have always done it. That's just it. Instead of like, okay, hold on, you like to get text messages? Oh, let me give you text messages.
Welcome to the Insurance Refocused podcast, where we're highlighting real agent stories and how they are innovating to respond to the changes and challenges happening in the independent insurance industry. My name's Lindsay, and I can't wait to introduce you to my amazing co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carey Wallace. Mom, how you doing today?
It is going fantastic. I am super happy to be off the road and in my own space and heading into the weekend. So could not be better. How about you, Linz? How's it going?
I'm doing good. I got to tell you, I'm excited for the conversation we're about to have. Every time I've gotten to be in the presence of our guest today, I've learned more and more about running an agency, technology in an agency, and I even got the pleasure of sitting on stage on a panel. So our guest today is Jack Wingate from AllChoice Insurance. Welcome, Jack. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, guys. And a happy belated birthday to Miss Lindsay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very
She's
kind
what,
of
like
you.
14 now?
You know, someone made a joke last year at a Christmas party. We were doing a Christmas thing where, you know, you can steal the presents after. And someone got a bottle of red wine that I knew and I really liked. I drink wine often. I really like wine. It's my drink of choice. And someone made a joke, are you even old enough to have that? Can I see some ID? And I'm like, guys, I work here full time. I'm a full-time grad student. Yes, I'm old enough to drink wine.
I no longer get those questions. I'm not sure if it's the gray that gives it away, like the age or spots, whatever, but yeah.
I will tell you this. I was recently in Utah, and I don't know what you know about Utah, but they card everyone, and they're very, very strict about it. Drinking is not, we were in Salt Lake City, so it was not necessarily a dry town, but there's not a lot of drinking that happens there. And I will tell you, I was with Una Roy, and she's like, what is the deal, man? Come on, stop carding us. What is it's not even a compliment anymore. Give me a break. All right. This is ridiculous.
So Jack, tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in insurance and your journey so far in the industry for people who don't know you.
Gotcha. So went to Appalachian State University, where I grabbed a major in finance. And because I was not ready to be done with school, I grabbed 2 extra classes to get a double major and doubled in risk management and insurance, which all Apps State has a great program, right? Which a lot of North Carolina schools are getting that. Had zero inclination about the insurance industry, nor did I care to be in it. But came out of school, got a job kind of as a telemarketer. We bought and sold mainframe hardware, which obviously I'm not even sure that exists anymore, except in the insurance carrier space, where I believe they all still use the same platform. So maybe I could have still made money. I actually let my insurance lapse because I was that guy, you know, and my a fraternity brother of mine was my agent at North Carolina Farm Bureau. Stopped in to get it reinstated, and he was like, you happy doing what you're doing? I was like, no. So kind of got an interview, started Farm Bureau the month and year I got married. So April of 2002. 2 years into the Farm Bureau journey, you really need to either decide you're going to be a lifer or you need to, you know, say peace out and do your own thing. So that's what I did. 2 years in-ish, started AllChoice. That was August 2004. My wife gave birth to my middle daughter that November. So we were broker than broke for that. My wife, we made the decision that she was going to stay home and help raise the kids, which was, you know, family is what's the important part for us. And so rob Peter to pay Paul for the first 5 years, like any good insurance agency will do when you start. And then fast forward, what are we? Peyton is 18, almost 19. So we are 18 years old. We'll be 19 in August. I think that's how it works. So yeah. So that brings us here. That's where we're at.
If you're like me and many other small businesses across the country where hiring, training, and retaining employees is a challenge, Agency VA has a solution for you. Agency VA has over 1,000 VAs hired, managed, and trained in the Philippines, Latin America, and India. But did you also know they have 100 licensed agents here in the US that can help you manage your book? I use a VA who lives in the Philippines, and I absolutely love her. The process was simple. We had a consultation where they asked me my needs, goals, and concerns, and matched me with Allie, who has been an absolute game changer for me. Employing Allie through Agency VA has allowed me to focus on my business without worrying about HR concerns, turnover, and monitoring payroll. The best part is the Agency VA team was eager to help my company and also make sure that Allie is getting employee benefits, a competitive salary to help her live a better life in the Philippines. If this is something that you are struggling with inside your agency, please visit Agency VA /Insurance Refocused and set up a time to talk to them about your hiring needs. That is an awesome journey. I will tell you, Jack, you are probably one of the agencies that come to mind when I think of an agency that is tech forward, that thinks differently. I love that you have a finance degree. I didn't know that about you. So now I have a whole new mad respect for you, which explains a lot, actually.
Explain some of the questions that I get to ask you.
Yeah, it actually explains a fair amount. But talk to me about what made you do that, because that's not the typical movement of you start an agency, you're super tech forward, you think about your staffing differently. You've really built something that is pretty unique. Tell me how that occurred.
So listen, it was not something that I sought to do up front. So, I mean, when you come from Farm Bureau, you shake hands, kiss babies, all that good stuff. That's how you do business. And probably the first, 8-ish years of the agency, it was like that. You go out, hey, can I quote your insurance? I hate that now. I hate, can I quote your insurance? Like, that's ridiculous. No one needs a free quote, right? But you do that, but somewhere along the line. So I don't know my timeline. Let's say 8 to 10 years ago, I was sitting there and I was like, little funny story here. So we were with we had a Blue Cross and Blue Shield contract. We didn't sell a lot of health insurance because it was an ancillary product. So our marketing rep came in and I was like, tell me how your top guys do business. And he said, my top person is in New Bern, North Carolina, and he is sitting on a boat 90% of the time. And all his leads come because he's optimized a website and people find him. And that sounds like, of course that's what happens. This was 10 years ago. That wasn't there. And I was like, wow. So I found the guy, found who made his website. And so we started on the website SEO journey 10 plus years ago. So I've been creating content and optimizing and knowing what H1 tags are and H2 tags and blah, 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 blah for a long time. Probably back in the day, my then business partner didn't understand. And he was like, man, you're wasting your time. Let's just go get deck pages and write business. I'm like, no, I really believe in this because just had to be a better way, right? Of just in selling your time. I'm trading time for money when you're in that old school model of doing insurance. So started going down that path, and I had a CSR working for me, and we were getting leads to the extent of I couldn't get to all of them. I was like, oh my gosh, I could get to them, but it'd be 4 or 5 days. And that just wasn't a good experience. So I started thinking, man, back then, wouldn't it be cool if I could get someone to take the task off of her at a really low dollar amount to do menial tasks and let her start handling this. So I ended up giving her she started doing the proposals, but I'm still working 18 hours a day, doing endorsements at night. because back then, I think probably the only game in town for outsourcing was probably Wave at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, really, so I mean, VAs weren't a thing. And Wave was not like it was cheaper. So we basically, I tell people sometimes, it's like, it's not that your idea isn't good or right. It's just maybe not right now. And so my idea boiling in my head was right. The technology and the things just weren't in place to pull that off. So, I mean, realistically, start listening to some podcasts 5-6 years ago, whatever that is. I hear about Marble Box. So I start going down that route with Marble Box, which is a different VA concept. And it was great. It got our toes wet, kind of introduced some carriers to the fact that someone's logging in from India or somewhere else other than, North Carolina. So you had to jump those hurdles with carriers. And then when COVID hit, we already had that in, and we were about to move to Agency VA, which is the VA company that I use. And just sort of the rest sort of took off. Now I'm a horrible boss, right? So I will let you run all over me because I don't want to fire you. Like, I'm the guy that Carey hates because I am slow to fire, right? It's weird. So I was like, you know what? I've got a good kind of staff guy that like I can count on. I need someone that doesn't matter whether, they're here today, gone tomorrow. I need like something going on. So Agency VA came in, we grabbed our first VA. I want to say it's probably now 4 years-ish, something like that. She's still with us to this day. We've added another and another. So like we utilize them. They're part of our team. And you could ask my operations director, he'd be like, oh yeah, he probably should fire me before he fires, that original VA, because she's that valuable to us. So that's the VA journey. Technology wise, I'm late. I'd like to say I'm lazy to this extent. I'm always trying to find the way or the thing that can reduce my time or reduce my staff's time to do the thing. And that might mean that I work 18 hours a day trying to find the thing, but I don't want to manually do the thing for a long time. And so, people will say, well, you just know technology. I can tell you this, you just don't know technology, right? It's not like you were born with that trait. Lindsay probably understands it, I'm not even going to say inherently. Lindsay's grown up in an age where it's around her more than probably you and I, Carey, but she still has to immerse herself in stuff. So when people are like that, I could never do that because I just don't know it. You get at night, you pop open YouTube and last night I'm looking at I'm looking at videos about how to write content with ChatGPT and using the plugins with ChatGPT Plus, which I wrote an article today. And it's just, you just got to immerse yourself. If it's important to you, you'll put in the time. So I maybe answered your question and I maybe didn't, but that's where we went right then. All right. So
I'd love to kind of talk a little bit about what technologies agencies need to adopt in their agency. So you and I actually sat on a panel, alluded to it earlier, but it was at Big I, North Carolina's InsurTech conference. And I thought that you answered a question on the panel really well. Someone asked, okay, so I have an AMS that I really like now. What's next? And I thought that you gave them some great advice. So would you share? Do you remember what you said?
I'm really old, Lindsay. I probably, and I say a lot of stuff to a lot of people now. My guess is it was probably around CRM. Was that what I said?
You actually didn't say a specific thing.
Tell me what I said and tell me how smart it was, right?
Oh, man. So you basically said it's personal to your agency. What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And where are you trying to go? What's missing is basically what you said.
Yeah, I don't know that I can say anything any smarter. So if you want to stop recording now, that's fine. I think that's probably a good place to stop. No, it's true. I think the people in the industry, the industry has gotten really, really good because there's a lot of, and I'm not, don't mean this in a derogatory fashion, but we've got some talking heads in our industry now, which are great. and we're shedding light on subjects and subject matter that are important. The problem is that we have a lot of people in the industry that if they actually hear about it, they're shiny object syndrome people. It's like, hey, I just heard that XYZ can give me a new website. I'm going to get that and I'm going to start getting leads. And it's not how it works, right? It's just not how it works, So I think, but to kind of combat that, what people really need to look at is, what is the problem in the agency that, one, keeps me up at night, or two, what is like the quickest, easiest thing that I can win on, which I personally think is the first place to start. Like, in order to change, you got to find a quick win, right? So,
hey guys, if you're looking to improve your bottom line, allow your team to operate efficiently, and really improve that customer retention, I believe you should check out Ascend. Ascend is the all-in-one insurance payment solution. They are focused on streamlining your invoicing, premium financing, accounting, and they'll even make your carrier payables for you. They are taking agency bill and making it as easy as direct bill. That is a game changer. They integrate with all of the major AMS players, and here's the best part. It's free. There is no subscription, no cost to you. They allow your customers to pay how they want. If you are interested in improving your efficiency, go visit ascend.com/insurance refocused and let them know that we sent you.
Yeah. And that was the second part of what you said. You said it's really hard to do an AMS. Like, you need to give your staff a quick win next before you go to do something more complex. You're just going to make them frustrated, is basically layman's terms of what you said. And I thought that was really interesting. And I would love to know, in your agency, how did you build your tech stack? Like, what was your path that you took? Do you remember? Do you remember,
Jack? Because you're old. I mean, whatever. No. So realistically, probably the first thing that I did, you get an AMS, like the first thing you do, because it's like, I'm starting an agency. What do? Like, the old way of thinking was you get an AMS. I mean, that's the first thing you buy. I can challenge you today and say maybe that's not the right thing, but that's what it inherently was. Probably 8-ish years ago, I signed up for Infusionsoft, which was Keep. And at that time, it was me. I had a business partner and one CSR. And I was just like, man, when I look at how online businesses do business, they're using these automations. It's really cool. And so I signed up for Infusionsoft, had zero help, and I'm looking at it and became overwhelmed. And so I scrapped it. Like, it was in about, 2 or 3 months. And it was just like, it was way too much. Just way too. I mean, it was just the possibilities were endless, and I was like, I don't even know. And at the time, it was, let's call it $340 a month. I was like, man, that's a lot of money. I mean, like, I don't know, I can keep affording this. I mean, everyone's in a different spot, right? And so the tools were more expensive back then, so I scrapped it. Going back to it wasn't a bad idea. The idea just wasn't right now, right? So, we fast forward a little bit, and I think we were changing AMS systems away from one of the big guys to a different provider. And at that point in time, I was really like, man, I don't feel like I'm giving an experience to my clients that is like the experience they get when they shop anywhere else. Because in insurance, we're like, oh gosh, this is just the way we do it, and you need to bow down to the way that we have always done it. That's just it. Instead of like, okay, hold on, you like to get text messages? Oh, let me give you text messages. It's kind of like, we're like the only business that I know of that is like, no, you bend to my will, versus the vice versa. So we signed back up with Keep/Infusionsoft, and that's when I dug in. I mean, I would work during the day and I would come home at night and work 6 hours building out automations. Now, I wasn't building out what most people think of like marketing automations. I was building out automations that I felt I could better my endorsement process. I could better my sales pipeline. I could whatever, like actual business process things versus fluffy marketing stuff. So that's sort of the journey. And then from there, it's sort of like, oh, I hear this, I'll try this. I see this, that looks cool. I'll try it. I'll give it a 90-day shot because I think you got to do anything for 90 days. And thankfully, and this is the problem a lot of agencies are going to have. I keep a small staff. Like we've talked about, I have VAs, which they will do whatever you tell them to. But my core staff is very small, but they're used to me changing stuff. They're used to me trying stuff, and I've earned their trust because you have to build trust with your staff to get buy-in because they understand I'm not just doing it to do it. I'm not doing it because I saw a shiny object. There's a purpose. I'm trying to find a way to make their life easier. And so once you're on that, I mean, it's like with your spouse, right? I mean, like you will do certain things with your spouse that, she has inherent trust that they're like, oh, I know this. I mean, they have my best interests. It's the same. I mean, the relationship is the same. So really, and that's just, I've tried things, they don't work. We've tried stuff, they have worked. And then what I end up doing, I'm probably going too far here, but it's like, I will throw a lot of stuff at the wall and we will use it. And then my job is then to cull it down and try to see, can I take the output I'm getting from this one and the output I'm getting from this one, they're pretty similar and they can kind of do similar things. So is there a solution that I can do 1 versus 2 now? So it's like you have 12 different things and I try to boil it down to the minimal amount. So I'll shut up.
So what are you said that you built out some automation of the sales processes. Like, what are a couple examples?
So experience, right? So we started originally, and I think our sales pipeline, let's say it had 4, like everyone has a pipeline, has a sales process pipeline. Everyone has it, whether it's written, whether it's whatever. You do the same thing a lot. So we started off, let's say 4 of them, like, you got to once you found the person, you got to get the info, then you got to quote it, then you got to propose it, then you got to close it. So that's where we started in essence. But what we found was sometimes it takes a day or 2 or 3 or whatever, depending upon the risk, you might have time in between those stages. Well, in our society today, you're used to pressing a button and getting what you want, right? So if you press a button and the delivery is going to be a week, we're now programmed because Amazon or whomever does a good job of going, hey, look, this was delayed. So you don't think, oh, okay, well, it's just delayed. No big deal. Other than if they weren't sending that, you would be thinking, they lost my order. I might have to find something else. I mean, you inherently, we as consumers will go down some negative path because, let's be honest, customer service in our day and age has gone downhill. So we always expect the worst. So, we moved it from 4 to maybe it's 7 because we determined that even I'll walk through an example. We get a lead in, we go to our out for quote stage. So they're getting messaging, hey, we got all your information. We're going to give it to our quote team and they're going to look and find some options and risk, blah, 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 blah. So our VAs quote everything. So as soon as she's done quoting we'll just talk personal lines, she's quoted 5 different carriers. She gives all of that info back to our American staff who's going to propose it. And they're so efficient on the VA route that we had a backlog of proposal preps to do. So like, we would have 8 to 10 to do a day. We do video proposals. So it's a 20 to 30 minute process of taking the information. Does it fit with this carrier? Even though they gave us a quote, it might not. Where does it need to go? Do the video, boom. If you got 8 in a day to do, 8 times 30, I mean, you've used up a lot of your day. So we found that people were like, well, you got my stuff and you said you quoted it. Like, where's it at? And then we would call them, well, I went with someone else. You know what I mean? So what we started doing was we implemented preemptive messaging that was like, as soon as it goes into the proposal stage, it's like, hey, got all your quotes in. We're going to review this with one of my senior advisors. I'm big on team and advisors, right? We're going to have, and to make sure that we've got everything, in proper line, it's probably going to be a day before we get it to you. And then let's say 2 days went by because it happens, right? Stuff happens. Hey, look, sorry, having a hard time getting a hold of Jack. I always make the blame be mine. Like, So AJ will be like, look, this is on Jack, my boss. I like to use that. My boss has been busy. I really want him to look at this. So, I mean, they're feeling important. It stops phone calls and it keeps people on your pipeline.
The thing is, the absence of communication creates doubt. So you basically are taking away that gap and creating a way that your team can communicate without taking their time. So what I hear in what you're talking about is we've adopted technology to streamline the process, to stay in touch with our customers and do it for the cheapest, fastest, most efficient way. That's really been your focus of what do I need to put in my agency? Is that right?
Correct. Oh yeah. And look, if I have an agent friend down the street. We run very similar shops from a mindset standpoint. Like we want to deliver a premium experience. So we like to consider ourselves as premium insurance agents. Like this is why we do, like, you're getting an umbrella, and we're going to educate. Our new tagline is serve, educate, protect, for a reason. Like, education is big with us because that we're going to differentiate. But that if you're not delivering the experience, that you got an issue. So, I mean, it's experience is like the best teacher. Like you have a few of these people go off the rails and you haven't communicated effectively. Shoot. I mean, you're messing up. And even to this extent, when we get done, when I want a producer to get a yes or a no. That's all I want. Like, you get me the yes or the no in like the some particulars, and I want my VA team to finish it. I want them to chase down the applications. I want them to chase down the routing and account numbers. Now, I'm saying the system is messaging these people, right? It's just it's in the VA's hands, but our system is, hey, look, we still need this. We still need this. We still need this. How many times do producers have to chase people down these days? Because we're busy. So anyways.
Yeah. So Jack, we've talked a lot, and I think we've also presented a couple places where we're talking to the same exact group of people. And, not every agency owner thinks this way. I think you said it was a partner or whatever said, you know what, why don't you just do the Accord form, man? Just sell insurance. What the heck? Obviously for you, it's paid off to make this investment, but that's not an uncommon thought process to say, hey, listen, if it is not broken, keep doing it. I get 90% retention every single year. I'm a good. I just don't think that's possible to continue to operate in this environment where we all expect immediacy. I just don't know how long that's going to last. You know what I mean? Like, I ask myself that question so very often. And that's why I'm saying you were super innovative before it was actually cool to be innovative, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I used to think, like, man, am I just the idiot out here trying some stuff, right? You never know. But look, it's funny too, because there are people that you come across, Carey and Lindsay, in your short time in the business. You've been put in positions where you're going to see certain people. They're old school models, and they run fantastic agencies. They're highly profitable. I mean, the people are making way more money than they deserve. And I'm saying that as someone who makes more money than I deserve. Like, I'm not that smart. Like, I'm not a doctor. I shouldn't. I mean, we're all very fortunate. I personally have a theory, and it's kind of the premise for everything that I do right now. I believe that in the next 5 years, the industry changes. I believe that in the time that I've been an agent, there's not been one single time that I know of that a carrier has come in and actually removed stuff off your plate or given you more money.
Right. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. And they're just going to continue taking it away. And I personally believe that, and this is sad to me, but look, we can cry about stuff or we can figure out how to profit and grow. But I believe that the day of a $2 million in premium, $3 million in premium, $5 million in premium agency, I think their days, quote unquote, are numbered to an extent. Because if I'm doing my math here, even at $5 million, average 10% comp, that's $500,000 of revenue. You're probably paying staff members. Am I along the right line there,
Oh, for
Carey?
sure.
I
Absolutely,
mean,
you
so
are.
payrolls aren't decreasing.
Right.
Your margin is going to decrease. And then when the carrier starts coming down, and this is coming, I think, hey, we want you now more involved with claims. Well, how can I afford to bring on a claims person if I'm already stuck? So I believe that, and to carriers are wanting more. It's harder to get contracts. I mean, when I first started National General, you could raise your hand and a contract would like hit it. Like you could just reach up and they were throwing things. It's hard to even get a contract now, from what I understand. So I don't think, aggregators are coming into play, and some of them are really, really good and offer something other than just an aggregation of premiums. Here's some resources, but I think you're going to have older agents that are perpetuating. You're going to have people who have a vision and who are willing to listen. When you buy an agency, it's not easy.
You're leading me to my next question, my friend.
Yeah,
we're going there for sure.
So it's not easy. So you got to be willing. Like I say right now, I'm ready to. I have the capacity to do some deals. 10 years from now, I might not want to do that. I might have the capacity, not the want to. So, that's the future of the business. At least that's what I'm banking on. Yeah. I might be wrong.
So I do want to ask something about that, because here's the deal. Like anyone's ever heard me speak, I talk about growing by acquisition versus growing organically. Are two very different beasts. And most people have a strategy for both, as long as they are positioned to have a grow by acquisition strategy. Not every agency can. And there's this gap forming where you are going to become the agency that it will be acquired versus the one that is acquiring. And part of that differential is thinking differently about your staff, thinking a bit differently about technology, thinking differently about your overall philosophy. It becomes really difficult to have the margins to acquire if you are not thinking differently, because you can't compete and you can't find that scale. So I know that recently you've probably done a few acquisitions. Tell me how technology played a role in those, either had it go really well or it made it challenging. Would you mind talking to that for a little bit?
Yeah, no. So it's funny. I'm one of those that right now, and you see this more than I do, Carey, but right now, if you own an agency, you can sell it for basically what you want to within reason. I think those days are changing, because now money's not as cheap as it once was. So you've got to, whereas in the past, maybe I acquire an agency and look, if I can just make it run ho-hum, awesome. After my debt service is down, maybe I'm making a little bit on the deal, but margins are very compressed. Whereas I look at it and go, oh, you got no technology in a world. I look at that as, I'm buying a fixer upper in real estate. I know how to fix your systems and processes. If you have a 20% margin, I really feel like I can come in and make it 30, make it 40, whatever the case is. I feel like that if we implement some processes and some strategies, it's not hard work. It's most of the time it's lipstick and rouge, just like, painting a house. So I think the people acquiring in the upcoming years, they've got to be really mindful of the use of technology and how that can enhance the experience for that customer, because we're not the easiest distribution channel to work with. So what is your value? If your value prop, and this happens, is that you have my cell phone, your value proposition is not good. If you think your value prop is that you can get a quote to someone really quick and save them a lot of money, you're not going to be in this very long. There's got to be something else that you're able to do, and having systems, processes, technology come in, overlay on an agency. I think that's it. I mean, I bought 2 different agencies last year. One of them, not much technology at all, but had a staff member that was engaged and working her tail off, and awesome. So coming in, my challenge with her was, trust me and let me implement technology. Let me make changes, not just technology. I need to make some changes, and having some, look, kicking and screaming to an extent. But now when I go and look at the reports, Last year was her best year ever in new business. That agency code with our biggest carrier grew for the first time in 5 or 6 years. So I know what we're doing works. The other one I bought was literally, it was a cash flow deal. There was no staff was going to be remaining. I bought it using a Warren Buffett valuation method. Like, it was like, here's free cash flow and I think I can make it work. And even if the retention is horrible, I won't lose, and it'll be a good experiment, because it was a small book. I wanted to have the experiment so that I would, one, know what to do and what not to do. My biggest profit on that deal isn't the money, it's the knowledge that I gained. I now know the next time how the deal, like, not the deal structure, right? I mean, the deal structure was all right. It's the how am I marketing that? How am I keeping the name or am I not keeping the name? I like my brand. But does it matter if you're in an area that no one knows you to have a guy with a beard? Right. I mean, so, someone the other day called the agency, this, an aside, which I never thought this was the case. He was like, I see your beard. That's a sexist thing. You must not want to have females as clients. And I was like, what? Like, it wasn't to me. It was actually talking to one of my female staff members. And she was like, I mean, no, he's a nice guy. Like, but anyway,
that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
And then we cyber stalked him and found him. My wife did, because she was like, "What?" Because she knows how the type of person I am. She was like, she takes offense to that. She looked him up. He's got a beard. It's just not a big beard. So
yeah, he has beard envy for some reason.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: plenty of women like beards. I'm not 100% sure what the heck that means, but
I mean, do you think I would have this if my wife did not like it?
I don't think so.
Anyways,
yeah, I don't think so.
Did I answer your question there, Carey?
You did. Okay. I think the only thing that I would counter to you is, yes, there is this impression that anybody can sell their agency for anything they want. There are a lot of buyers out there, but here's what I'll tell you, Jack. If you're not innovating and you're not able to operate profitably and your agency is not transferable, I disagree. You are going to think the market will pay you something and you will be wrong, because the buyers like you are saying, here's the deal. It's a fixer-upper. I'm not paying top price. Like, that market is kind of gone with the interest rates to where they are. I'm going to pay you what's fair, or I'm going to move on, because there are going to be more and more agencies available that don't want to innovate. I mean, that's the reality. And right now, there is more demand than there is supply. I don't know what happens when the supply goes up. I mean, the reality is, all baby boomers will be at retirement age in the next 5 to 7 years or something. I'm pretty sure it's 5 to 7 years. Imagine how many of those are not innovating and want to have an exit. So that's unfortunate, because here's the deal. There are a lot of agents that are innovating. We sat in a room where 2 people raised their hands and said they knew what a virtual assistant was. That scares me. I just moved to another room where 99% of the agents are actually using virtual assistants, and they're talking about bots. They're talking about a lot of things. They're automating their systems. They're thinking about it differently. They're automating their marketing. They're very specialized in what they do, and it's driving growth and performance and scale to put them in the acquiring seat. Like, that is the reality, but that group is kind of small right now. That is not the mainstream America. That is not your mainstream agent. It is the agents that are thinking about the future, the ones that have 30 plus years ahead of them. I know you don't, but you've been thinking about that way while you had 30 plus years ahead of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I long for there to be a day where I can walk into a room of independent agents and start saying stuff, and then look out there and they already know what I'm talking about. I would love that.
Yeah. We're not quite there.
Like, I would love to then segue, okay, we can go deeper now, but let's do it, but even, but that's how it is. So
yeah. And there's a group, like, don't get me wrong, there's people out there doing it, but I love being able to talk to you and talk about the journey and the fact that you shared, like, we tried some things. We even tried it, stopped, and tried again. And my staff knows I'm going to solve problems that are real for them, make their lives better. And they trust me that I'm not going to exhaust them. So it's a journey. It's not an overnight thing, right? Well, I want to leave with one thing. So I know you're part of a new effort. So I'd love for you to give a little bit of information about what this 101 Weston Labs is and how it will impact technology, agent driven. You want to give us a little bit of why you're involved and what they're about and what agents can expect from that.
Yeah. So, at Big I, North Carolina, IANC, North Carolina, I honestly, hat in hand, I joined 3 years ago, maybe. And realistically, I'd never been a member. I was always like, what are you going to do for me? I can get E&O somewhere else, because that was what I thought. And I remember Albie coming to my little dungeon in Clemens, North Carolina, where it literally was just one office, and him sitting down is like, really wanted to get your member. Like, look, man, no offense, I appreciate it, but I don't know that there's anything y'all can do for me. He said, there's not anything that we can do for you, but I need you to do something for the industry. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, I mean, way to go, Albie! Like, put me in a corner, right? Why don't you? And it dawned on me. I was like, the industry's been very good to me, so I joined. And then the next thing I know is, hey, and this is right before COVID, I think. It was like, hey, Jack, would you mind coming to Raleigh? We've got a little thing going on, and we'd like you to do a presentation of your stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not a speaker. Like, that's not my jam. Like, I don't know how to do that. But I did it, and then he asked me again, and I think anytime he needed someone, he was like, you want to talk? And I was like, all right, whatever. So anyway, so fast forward, I got the honor of sitting on like some sort of strategic planning thing for the Big I. And this has been 2 years ago. And right after that, I got a call. I'm from the same hometown as a wonderful gentleman named Bobby Salmon. And he said, he knows my family. He was like, you opposed to being on the board? And I was like, I never thought about it. And I think it was maybe 2 days later, I think I get a call from another gentleman who's on the board. Hey, Jack, so you're on the board now? And I was like, what? Like, how did you even? So anyway, so fast forward on the board, and then Albie comes to me last year sometime and was like, hey, look, we're going to start so our Big I is unique. There are a lot of good Big I's out there, but our Big I is a little unique in that we have a great leader at the helm. We actually have good resources from a financial standpoint, so we can try things. So over the years, we've invested in insurance startups and insurance things to try to help the independent agency force. And so I'm sure there's been investment mistakes and investment wins, all that good stuff. So they started looking at InsurTech. So that's the big word. InsurTech is a dirty word. And Albie's like, well, why shouldn't we just start our own insurance accelerator? And I was like, what's an accelerator? I mean, that's odd. And still to this day, I don't know that I have a good definition for it. But what the theory is let us bring people in who are way smarter when it comes to technology than any agent is, because we're not smart. But where we've seen things fail in the past because the agent didn't have a hand on it and say, that's not going to work. The accelerator for us is our opportunity to take people who are really, really smart, who have great ideas, and help mold it to things that will actually be useful sitting in an agency of any size, right? Because some things are really, really cool, but you can only do it if you are 100 people, instead of the 1 or 2 person shop. So the accelerator 101 Weston Labs is, they named it because 101 Weston Boulevard is the address for the Big I in Carey, North Carolina. So we have some marketing geniuses on there. I hope Lindsay didn't come up with that name. And was that you? It's that wonderful.
That was my name.
It
Slam
works
me,
well.
slam me, Jack.
Yeah, I know. But so anyway, so listen, we've just gone through the pitch phases, with a lot of cool technologies, and some of them were cool and they won't work in our space. Great. I mean, they'll work somewhere else. But our goal is to bring these people through, and they call it a cohort, which is another new terminology. So basically cohort means group, maybe. So we have a group of people coming in. I think we actually have our first kind of kickoff meeting June 12th of this year. And so we'll go down there. We'll teach them how to alter their product. We'll give them access to independent agents to sort of get in there and make the Play-Doh, whatever we want it to be. And then we're going to help teach them about, the financials, like, hey, look, when you go to pitch, these are the things that investors are looking for. And then, I mean, the end goal, some people could look at it and go, well, the end goal for the big guys to make money off of it. And it's not. If we made money because the next Amazon took off, that's awesome. But the win for the independent agents in North Carolina, and in fact, I think the independent agents across the nation, is like, this is some stuff that we can implement. And look, I'll tell you this right now. There are a few things I don't say super excited because I think it's overly drawn out in talking heads now. I'm super excited about a couple of the technologies because I'm like so simplistic that it's going to be cool. And I can implement it today and solve a problem and reduce time and friction, all that good stuff today. So 101 Western Labs, more to come.
Yeah,
Great
I
name,
can't wait. I love it. It is a great name, by the way. And I think the trick is it doesn't have to move mountains. It's easy. It can solve a problem. And it has an agent lens on it because so oftentimes there are people outside our industry look at our industry and see opportunity, but they don't know how it works. So I love that 101 Weston Labs is connecting the two, and it is for the betterment of the industry. Like, let's not have a million insurtechs that are thought up by people who don't understand the industry. Let's actually do something to help move this forward and make it easy and seamless and make sense, right? Like, I think that's the whole idea. How do we make this make sense, right?
Yeah. And probably in 2 or 3 years ago, insurtechs were coming in, and all the agency forces were really, really scared that these insurtechs were coming for our businesses. And let's be honest, that was what they wanted to do. But they quickly realized that as a distribution force, the independent agent is pretty good. Now, when I look at that, I'm like, but gosh, I see so many that aren't. I feel like our bar is really, really low in this industry from like just a experience standpoint. I think it's really easy for people like me right now to make hay, and I'm trying to make all of it that I can while it's shining. But now that we get our hands on that insurtech, man, we can change and transform fundamentally our day-to-day processes. And I mean, I'm more excited about our industry right now than I probably ever have been, even with the, what's going to happen with AI. I feel like if I find a reason to provide, if I'm able to provide value, so you have to define what the value is that you bring. If you can define that and bring it, and it can't be speed and it can't be price, that's all part of the mechanism. But you got to figure out what you can do better. It's, what's the book, Good to Great, right? It's what can you do better than anyone in the world? Like, I think about that. What can I do? And provide, and these tools will help us do that.
Yeah. So, Jack, if anyone who's listening wants to reach out and talk to you about any of the stuff we talked about today, or 101 Weston Labs, which is a great name, by the way, just saying.
It's fantastic.
Where can they reach you?
So the best, if you call my office, my VAs are very adept at screening. Like it's tough to get me. But look at our website, allchoiceinsurance.com. You can find me on there. My really simple name. My email is jack.wingate, WINGAT, at allchoiceinsurance.com. It's all spelled out because allchoice.com was taken when I started my insurance career. I could have bought it for $3,000. And I looked at it the other day, it's like 50 now. I'm like, God, yeah. So I mistake on my part, but yes. And for real, like I had a call this morning with someone who was wanting to learn about implementing a VA. I tell people all the time, like, I'm available. You can look at everything I got. I'll pull the covers back. I want us all to get better. It's no charge. I think if we can all get better together, then that's a good thing. And I'm going to learn from you. You're going to tell me what you're doing that's cool as well. And I'll just take it and act like it's mine too. So, yeah.
Well, that is a true statement, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us and sharing always. I absolutely love watching you speak. I've had been the beneficiary of that multiple times. So I really appreciate it, Jack. And I look forward to seeing you at the cohort.
Oh, yes. Well, guys, thank you. I believe that you guys are the nicest podcast I've ever been on. because I think the world of both of you guys. And I'm so excited for Lindsay. Wow. To carve your own way with having the mom that you do. And that is for real. I mean, I think the world of Carey, and I'm happy for your journey, Lindsay.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you later. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carey directly at carey@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.